The forgotten MCU movie. No, truly, why does Disney not even acknowledge this movie's existence? On the Marvel tab on Disney Plus, there's a Hulk collection, and in the collection, the actual MCU Hulk movie isn't even on it. That's insane. You have to go to the MCU Phase 1 section of the page to find this movie. And when you do, there's absolutely nothing. There's just a play button and suggested sections. There's no details or behind the scenes videos. Where are the different formats? It's crazy that Marvel basically blackballed their own movie. Or is it their own movie? All right, history lesson, everyone. We're going to try to do this quickly because I have a review to get to. In the 90s, as a company, Marvel wasn't doing so well. So they sold off distribution rights to some of their most popular characters, such as Spider-Man to Sony, X-Men and Fantastic Four to Fox, and the Hulk to Universal. The distribution rights depended on whether the character was in comic book form or animated version or being displayed in live action or a roller coaster form. It's very, very confusing stuff, so I'm not going to get into all of that. However, in 2003, Universal produced and distributed a Hulk movie directed by Ang Lee and starred Eric Bana. The movie turns out to be not the best thing in the world, and still within the midst of Marvel grasping at straws trying to make something work in the movie business. Then comes 2008's Iron Man, a movie I already covered earlier, kicking off the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they kicked it off knowing that they won't be able to use some of the most popular characters in their universe, which is a huge, huge gamble, but one that came profitable because another movie comes along in 2008, The Incredible Hulk. Now, this was produced by Marvel Studios, but distributed by Universal because Universal still owned the distribution rights of the character. But Marvel as a company still owned the actual intellectual property. This solo Hulk movie, directed by Louis Leterrier, has been the last solo Hulk live action project since the time of its release. Marvel Studios, in gaining popularity, understood if they want to make a Hulk movie, they have to look to Universal to distribute it. And because of lack for a better term, corporate control, Marvel only allows the Hulk character to appear in live action when he is a supporting character and supporting character only. This way the Hulk can be produced, distributed, and controlled by solely Marvel Studios. Well, that was until about a month ago when the distribution rights returned to Marvel. So now Marvel has full rights to 1, put The Incredible Hulk up on Disney Plus, but 2, make a completely new Hulk solo movie. Hopefully I summed up all the corporate craziness correctly. It really is a spider's web of different rights and laws and entitlements of different characters. This whole ordeal is also why there's an Avengers campus on the West Coast at Disneyland, but in Florida, Universal's Islands of Adventure have a whole Marvel superhero section of their park with a Hulk themed roller coaster. I wish I knew every single last thing about this stuff, but the documentation and ownership right papers are all property of the company, so not necessarily the easiest stuff to get your hands on. Now that we got you caught up on the story behind the movie, all I got for you is that this movie is fairly okay paced and amazing action scenes and CGI. Betsy Ross is so far the worst character in the MCU, and Edward Norton seemed like he needed a little bit better directing with the scenes. Very simple plotline, but not the best story of all time. The main thing I want to focus on with my very centralized movie reviews is the depiction of the Hulk. The action in this film is, I would say, perfect. The Hulk in his very first scene is an unstoppable force of nature. The filmmakers take the Jaws way of showing the monster by not showing it, keeping him in the shadows, never giving a fully understood glance at the character. He's a massive green rage monster, the Mr. Hyde to Bruce Banner's Dr. Jekyll. This Hulk is taken seriously. This Hulk is intimidating. This Hulk is scary. This Hulk is a monster. The next scene, we see him at Culver University, which I just learned is actually not a real place. The transformation from Banner to Hulk is framed as this genre-inspired body horror. Seeing his legs and his arms, his muscles contract and turn green. Even in broad daylight, the scene is skin-crawling. The Hulk bursts out of the building and stands up, and it doesn't even seem heroic. General Ross is portrayed as the bad guy, and the hero is supposed to have this dramatic superhero landing to stand up to General Ross's evil ways, but the Hulk is not a hero. The Hulk is a monster. He throws and kicks people around like they're rag dolls, picks up tranks and massive slabs of metal like they weigh nothing. He's fighting in the military, confusing the audience, not knowing which side to root for. Who should win this fight? It seems like nothing is working, nothing does work until Banner's love interest is put into danger. The Hulk picks up Betty Ross, takes her to a nearby mountain cliff, and I never saw the similarities between the Hulk and King Kong before this. These two massive beasts holding on to the thread of human decency, taking care of the women that show them kindness. Two erratic monsters trying to make sense in the world of why the world even hates them. What I love about this movie is how much Hulk there is. In the last act, with this big fight between the Hulk and the Abomination, it's this long, dramatic, brutal fight scene between the two beasts. It's just so great. From using two halves of a police car as boxing gloves, to the Hulk clap, to the Hulk smash, and all the way to stabbing Abomination in the chest with its own bone spike. All of the action is just so good. It's so brutal. It's so impactful. Just two animals going at it in the streets of Harlem. And despite the sentence I just said, the fight always seems grounded and real. Nowadays, big CGI fights never feel like they have any weight to them. No real consequences to each punch thrown. This fight feels tangible, big and grandiose. These monsters feel like monsters because the Hulk is a monster. Now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, where I compare what I previously thought about the Marvel project to what I think about it now. Incredible Hulk, best action in the MCU, an interesting view into Hulk and Bruce Banner. Best action in the MCU so far, definitely. But I think it's due to because two big monsters fighting, and I'm always a sucker for that. It feels like if I were to play with the Hulk and Abomination toys, making them fight in a big city. Now, what I don't necessarily agree with is the difference between Hulk and Bruce Banner. I think other adaptations of the relationship have displayed the conflict of these characters a little bit better. But what I do love is Bruce taking breathing measures and taking classes and wearing a heartbeat monitor, trying to control and gauge his ailments. The beeping on the heartbeat monitor is such a great touch because it adds this moments of tension, like a pseudo countdown until the Hulk reveals himself. But what I would have loved to see is Edward Norton having a real depressive time in this movie. He's dealing with something that has totally ruined his life. Can I see Bruce Banner be upset with that sort of thing? Can I see him cry or shed a single tear? Let me try to empathize with this character, allowing me to feel what he's feeling rather than just showing me ways of how he's already trying to cure the problem. Because after all, the Hulk is a monster. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, having fun with me, talking about the Incredible Hulk. This is part 2 to the big Marvel project I'm trying to get through. I have no idea I'm gonna finish this project. It's gonna take me so long, but I'm really excited to talk about the rest of the Phase 1 movies and the rest of the MCU. Thank you guys so much for listening, watching, having fun with me. I'll see you guys in the next video or podcast episode.